The War Within is just around the corner. We're now in August, boys. It's here. But who will be the final boss of the expansion, right? We're talking about the launch, but what about the end? Who will be the final boss of this expansion? Who will be the final boss of the World Soul Saga? Sargeras? You know, Amenthul? The Jailer? Who could it be? Let's see if Taliesin and Evitel have figured it out.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking World of Warcraft, the War Within, and we are talking the final boss of the expansion, who is, of course, well, actually, we don't know. Who is the final boss of the War Within? It's a question I love to ask before any expansion, and like Machine Gun Kelly at a weed buffet, I just can't help myself. I need to make this video every time, and have done since Legion with, varying results. And this time out, the question is more intriguing than ever, as it's complicated by the fact that the War Within isn't a normal expansion, is it? It's the jumping...
before he gets into it, there are a few candidates here, most definitely. I mean, we got Iridikron is certainly one. He has to be. Xal'atath, maybe, but I think it's a bit early for her. Any old god could be a candidate. Maybe they're resurrected or a fifth old god. We could have a Void Lord, like an essence of a Void Lord. I don't think we're fighting a Void Lord. Could be one of the Titans. But again, that could be the last Titan. Sargeras returns. You know, there's a lot of choices here. Who could the last boss be?
Off point for the World Soul Saga.
This would be a hard one to determine.
Expansion trio of stories that all need final bosses, and which will eventually have presumably the biggest boss of all at the climax of the last Titan. So join us as we line up the candidates and rate them to decide who we will be squaring off against at the end of the
Ancan, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
Last raid, and discover who is the final boss of the War Within. Okay,
go. Yes.
Xal'atath. Let's start with the most obvious answer, the name on everyone's lips. And not just...
Man, I can fix her, man. I'm telling you guys, I can fix her. I really can. I know it. Just give me a chance.
The name on everyone's lips, and not just because you kiss her body pillow goodnight every evening. The sexy void elf void mummy that Bliss have made the face and voice of all their marketing for the expansion so far, Xal'atath. This purple baddie, and I do mean baddie, is everywhere this expansion, from trailers to key art to merch. Oh yeah, the game, she's in the game too. I'm gonna bet you any money you like. Blizz will launch a $600 statue of her between now and September. I've made no secret of my love for Xal'atath on this channel ever since she first appeared in Legion, where she was the Shadow Priest artifact weapon, the seductive voice trapped within the blade of the Black Empire. We don't know loads about the origin of the blade. Some theorize it is the remains of a forgotten old god devoured by its kin, or the claw of Yesharaj himself, but we do know it dates back to the Black Empire.
And we do know N'Zoth himself was very much interested in the blade. By the way, we still don't know why or what he wanted to use it for, but you remember when him and Xal'atath had their little meeting? He said, "Leave the blade with me." Yes, I don't know. The ultimate planner, he's still alive.
Of Azeroth's history, when the world was dominated by the old gods, watching over their vast cities and nations of tentacly servants as they burrowed through the planet's crust, attempting to corrupt the world soul within. We know Xal'atath was housed inside the blade since at least the fall of the Black Empire. She is the ancient and terrible force that the Word of the Conclave refers to in its history of the blade, which has passed through the hands of mortals like the One Ring, corrupting and manipulating them to its own ends every time. Shadow Priest players will remember Xal'atath whispering to them throughout the Legion expansion, and even at the time, I remember highlighting her as the most important and powerful of all of the artifact weapons, predicting in what will happen to our artifact.
What about Ashbringer? Come on, I mean, I'm not even a paladin, and I can say that. How about the what's it called? The ones, the Lich Kings shattering from Frostmourne, those pieces of Frostmourne we have, Frostmourne shards, I don't know. She probably was one of the highest ranking weapons if we had to rank them out.
Fact weapons video that out of all of them, she was the one most likely to return later down the line in the form of an enemy that we would have to fight. Taliesin was right.
Come to think of it, she was the only one that wasn't drained into Sargeras' sword. How did she escape that? What did Shadow Priest do in that part of the expansion? I never even thought about it. When we all drained our weapons into Sargeras' sword, what the hell did you do with Xal'atath? That's a...
In Battle for Azeroth, everyone was introduced to the joys of
Someone played
Xal'atath
Shadow
as
Priest, let
war
me know.
campaign questing saw us recover the blade and follow her instructions to stop followers of N'Zoth from using artifacts scattered around Kultiras to summon a scouring storm. One of the artifacts, a Void Stone, is being empowered by a high elf priestess called Inanis, who we kill, and then Xal'atath inhabits her body. So she looks like this now, and we take all the artifacts to
Oh, that's the moment that she takes over the body? I had no idea that this had happened in-game. I thought she'd just shown up like this.
Off and trade them for the release of Xal'atath from the blade. Although the real trade seems to be us. That's how we get the Eye of N'Zoth, which any true follower of the Void still wears to this day. Xal'atath exits triumphantly into a Void portal with the promise that we'll meet her again, but we don't see her again until Dragonflight and the climactic cinematic of the Dawn of the Infinites mega dungeon. It's here that Iridikron explains his cunning super objective and plan to endanger the world soul that the Titans will come to defend it and he can punch them in the face. Yeah, that's his plan, and honestly, I kind of respect it. But as he disappears into a suspiciously voidy looking portal, we catch a glimpse of an elven looking silhouette lurking in the darkness beyond, who many players speculated was Xal'atath, and who indeed turned out to be Xal'atath upon the reveal of the War Within. And she looks like this now. This means that War Within will be the 4th WoW expansion that Xal'atath has appeared in. 5th if you count Classic Season of Discovery.
That's interesting. Is that a record? 4 expansions? Maybe Ragnaros if you count all the times he's kind of come back. Now he's even back again in these freaking remembered events or whatever, the Echoes, Radiant Echo events. He's back again. Probably goes to Ragnaros. But yeah, anyways.
Where she is very obviously the shadowy figure that helps you upgrade your gear, making her the baddie that has received the most build-up in WoW ever after Garrosh. She absolutely is the antagonist of the War Within, plain and simple. She kicks off the action at the beginning of the expansion with a
smartest thing Xal'atath did was skipping Shadowlands. Good on her.
Event. And the whole of the leveling campaign is basically us running around, trying to catch up with her and undo the damage she is unleashing. So surely she will be the final boss of the War Within, right? It's reasonable to assume that she is. It all makes perfect logical sense, and that's the end of the video. Except...
Yeah, I don't think she is, because she's a harbinger at the end of the day, right? That's like her unofficial title.
Let us lay waste to this
Oh my God, the Pope just followed me. Blessed be thy Father. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge. I was going to say, I doubt she'll be the last boss, because she's a harbinger. At the end, she's supposed to bring about our end, bring about a Void Lord. If she completes her mission, the Void Lord she brings about will probably be the final boss in some way, shape, or form. But Xal'atath, we will fight her at the end of something. I don't know if it's the end of Midnight or what, but I just have a feeling she's not. She's certainly not the end boss in the War Within. Will she be the end boss at the end of the World Soul Saga? I don't know if she'll survive that long.
The thing is, I think most people would see it as being a huge waste of a very cool baddie to have Xal'atath killed at the end of this expansion.
Yeah, there's
Midnight,
no chance.
The next installment of the World Soul Saga is supposed to be all about a huge void invasion of Azeroth and attack on the Sunwell in Kel'Thalas. And would you really want a void invasion without Xal'atath? And yet, obviously, we could still fight her as the final boss without killing her. Goodness knows we've done that before. I don't know. My feeling is that Blizzard must know they've hit the jackpot with Zal. The community love her.
She's
a
more
marketable than any other character they've come up with in a generation, even if they were planning.
She's, man, I can fix her. I know I can. She's basically everything the jailer wasn't. Nipples covered, check. Bald head, no. She's got hair, check. Female, check. Badass plan, check. Tells us her plan, check. What else? I mean, the list can go on and on. Everything that the jailer wasn't, she is. Not basically hitched onto old lore and destroying old lore, check. Great villain. Great villain. I can't wait to interact with her more, and I can fix her, of course.
Planning on having her eat it at the end of the war.
The
I'm pretty sure
anti-jailer
those
knife
plans
umami,
will
yeah.
have been changed by now, which would be great because there is still so much to explore with Xal'atath. Like, what even is she? Why was she trapped in the dagger in the first place? And by whom? If N'Zoth could release her at any time, why didn't he? She says, it's been so long since I took a mortal form. Does this mean she was a mortal originally, or that she just inhabited a few in her time before being daggered? Personally,
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
really hoping we get a pre-expansion animated short giving us some background on her origins, like we did with Ashara before BFA. Although,
That'd be cool.
equally, I suspect that Blizz will want to keep her true form up their sleeves for a big reveal
Oh
later
my god,
on.
this looks like one of those like biblical angels. You guys ever see those things? Man, that looks crazy. Where's this art from?
There's also the small matter of what
Interesting.
Maria Hamilton had to say on the subject when we spoke to her.
Is she a baddie?
Well, I mean,
Let's be real, I think she is a baddie. I think
Is she? Wait, how did I miss that? Is she a baddie? Yeah, of course she's a baddie, right?
we will kill her, but I don't think
Interesting.
it'll be this
Is she a
expansion.
mommy?
In fact, I think there are some other,
Definitely.
much more likely candidates. So I rate Xal'atath's chances of being the final boss of the War Within a surprisingly slim 6 dead elves out of Black Empire. So if it's not Xal'atath,
Good ranking.
who is it? Alleria. Alleria is a character whose story and role in World of Warcraft has been the proverbial gun on the mantelpiece for
Okay, so he's going with a fully corrupted Alleria, which we have seen in the game before already. If you played through the Visions of N'Zoth, the Stormwind run, if you remember, she had killed Turellian and was sucking her son into a void portal. So we've seen what a fully corrupted and fully lost manifestation of Alleria looked like. She had destroyed Stormwind. So that could be a bad boss. I don't know.
a while now.
Think
One
about
of the
that.
OG heroes of Azeroth as a member of the Sons of Lothar, the crack team of heroes who prevented Ner'zhul's horde from taking Azeroth by destroying the Dark Portal from the Draenor's side, stranding themselves on a planet that then proceeded to basically blow up. But Alleria and husband Turallion were rescued by the Army of the Light and proceeded to fight a 1,000-year war on the Legion on behalf of their light mummy Zera. Turallion was star pupil obviously, but Alleria less so, getting herself mixed up with the Void under the guidance of Locus-Walker, the very mysterious and extremely sus Ethereal. Her continued study and use of the shadowy arts got her basically thrown out of the Army of the Light, and as we progress through the seat of the Triumvirate dungeon with her in Legion, zapped with voidy power by a
Right.
shadowy Naru and going full on purple, before teaming up with us and Turallion, take down Sargeras and end the Burning Legion.
I can say Alleria is also a hottie. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Now she is back in the spotlight as one of the main characters of the War Within, in even more purple, and hearing those whispers stronger than ever. Tortured by guilt about things, and hunting Xal'atath through the opening of the expansion. She is angry, and you know what a woman being angry in WoW means, right? Yeah. She's a baddie now. No, but seriously though, could Alleria end up being the final bad of the War Within?
I
Could
don't
she
think
fall
so.
to corruption entirely, betraying her friends and family and planet, and need to be taken?
Guaranteed she will have moments, where she's falling. Oh, she's gonna fall. Maybe she crosses over just for a second, comes back because Turellian grabs her by the shoulder. Some kind of moment like that. Those things will happen. Locus-Walker's training her to be able to survive a moment like that. Whether she ever goes full-on corrupted and we have to fight her, I don't think so.
Out, even if she
Final
was
boss? No, I
convinced
don't
she
think
was
so.
doing it for the right reasons. Let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time a Windrunner sister has done that. And as 1,000 Years of War tells us, perhaps one day she would fall to madness. Perhaps one day she would betray her allies. She was capable of it. In some ways, I really like the idea.
Isn't there an N'Zoth whisper that it relates to Alleria, like being basically unlocked or fully corrupted? I know Xal'atath talked about her like the caterpillar has become the butterfly. She dropped a line like that. So like the Void has a plan for Alleria. That's for sure. Whether or not that plan comes to fruition is the real question.
Of Alleria falling to the Void and becoming an antagonist, it would help show just how dangerous the Void is, just how high the stakes are in the World Soul Saga. but I don't think I see it happening in the War Within. There is undoubtedly some big story coming up between Alleria, Turalyon, and their son, Arator, exploring how they're completely at odds, paths, and
I'm waiting for him to get a new model. There's no way they don't give him a new model in this expansion, or the Midnight expansion. Probably Midnight is when he'll get a new model. He's too important, and he's going to become more important. I still think he is the son of Shadow and Light. I know every time I say that, the comments section on the YouTube video blows up. He's not the son of Shadow. No, he's not. I really think he is. I do. And I think he's going to get a new model in Midnight because he's going to be very important.
Philosophies strain the limits of their very obvious love for each other. I kind of expect, as I have done since Legion, that Alleria's story may well end up with her falling to the void or resisting it, but either way, that story must surely be framed around her protecting Arator. She would never, not in any possibility, not in any circumstance, harm her son. Even if he killed her for what she had become, she would accept it gladly. The weight of that truth kept her afloat, and she could feel the Shadow's confusion. It did not understand the bonds between mortals. It did not understand that there were some things that could not use
another Death Knight.
Who, Alex, 18 months, priming. My God, thank you, man. Thank you. Death Knight of our Scourge.
To me, a story which would be best suited to Midnight. Short story, A Whisper of Warning, has established that Arator now lives in Silvermoon, home of the Sunwell, which will be attacked by the Void in the next expansion. And that just seems too delicious and satisfying a backdrop for the Light Void family soap opera to play out against. So I rate Alleria's chances of being the War Within final boss as a low one new purple tattoo out of divorce. Locus-Walker. Okay, so if Alleria isn't going to be the final boss of the expansion, how about her mentor, Locus-Walker? Locus-Walker.
Somebody in chat called him Sus-Walker. That's an interesting one. I don't think so. I do think his intentions are actually in the right place. Even though, he talks in mysterious ways and he kind of holds back at times. I think he wants Alleria to figure some things out for herself. I believe Locus-Walker is in fact on our side.
Alleria met while they were both imprisoned by the Legion in the Twisting Nether. His wrappingless form teaching Alleria...
I don't think he gives a shit about us necessarily, but I think he is very much kind of on the vengeance tour to fight against the Void because of what happened to his planet. Now, who he was back before their planet was destroyed, maybe he was the king. Who knows? He could reveal some kind of important role that he used to have. But I do think he is very much like, well, this is the next battlefront against the Void. So that's why he's shown up here. He's ready to try to help us win against the Void.
How to use the Void so that she could then use the power of Shadow to overpower their jailer, not that one, and escape. And he has been the sketchy Void Yoda to the eldest Windrunner ever since, convincing her that the power of the Void is absolutely fine to use as long as she keeps her sanity and doesn't succumb to it. Like, duh. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Locus-Walker is the kind of guy who goes rummaging through your memories whenever he feels like it. Takes sketchy Void staffs off of Void-corrupted baddies we've killed, and it's him that characterized the differences between the Light and Void that we in the WoW lore community still treat as basic fact even today. You have known the Shadow as nothing but horrors. The Shadow sees the Light in the same way. Neither viewpoint is true. Neither is wrong. The Light seeks one path and shuns all others as lies. The Shadow seeks every possible path and sees them all as truth. And I'm not saying that's not true, okay? I'm merely pointing out that our only real source for those definitions is the guy who loves the Void and insists he's the only guy ever that's actually learned how to use it and be wrong with it and not actually be controlled by it. And I think it's probably healthy to bear that in mind. It is...
If you were, in fact, from the Void and you were controlling an entity, wouldn't you try to tell everybody, hey, I'm not being controlled by the Void? Like, there is that possibility that he's actually a puppet of the Void this entire time, and there is no way to truly not be controlled by the Void. And they're leading Alleria down this path to eventually be controlled. That could be it. Could be. But I don't think so.
Easy to see how Locus-Walker could be the final boss of the War Within, especially when you consider the big spoiler that we know about patch 11.2. The spoiler, which I'm going to say right now. So this is your warning for that, okay? I'm not joking.
I don't know if I want to hear
This is a red bot, but... data mined icon names point to an ethereal raid, which definitely suggests the Shadow Guard Voidfall and Ethereals that we already know from the Dark Heart quests work with Xal'atath, and it definitely, to me at least, suggests that we will be going to Koresh, the broken and
I
abandoned...
hope so. I hope we go to Koresh, and if we do, I hope we get to see a version of it before it was destroyed, where we'll also get to see a version of Ethereals before they became this current bandaged form. It would be so cool to finally see what Ethereals originally looked like and see their like desert homeworld planet, because that's what it's been described as, kind of like a Tanaris, as what I would expect it to look like. Man, I'd love to see it. Imagine the transmog you could get from that place, too.
Ethereals. It is easy to imagine Locus-Walker being our guide on that planet, much as he was during the Seat of the Triumvirate dungeon, only to turn out that he's using us to reach some greater power, just like he does in the Seat of the Triumvirate dungeon. He could be revealed to have long since fallen to the void and be in league with Xal'atath, a character he has clearly encountered before. As he says to Alleria in 1,000 Years of War, when they are literally fighting each other because he wants to keep her from saving Terralion, you have made a very determined enemy, Windrunner. I rate the chances of Locus...
He also says Harbinger. Is that what she calls herself now? Like,
Walker being the final boss of the War Within. A getting warmer 6 bandages out of floaty void. It's very possible, but personally, I don't think he will be. Yeah. I think he will be used as our guide through the ruins of Koresh, like I say, and I think the actual boss of the expansion will be a being that he knows all too well. First,
Dimensius? Is that what he's going to say?
He's got something she wants to say to you.
Hi everyone, it's that time again. Time to update your website. And when I say your website, I mean my website. And when I say my website, I mean Squarespace. It's Squarespace time. I know we like to talk about making new stuff and pages and things on here a lot because I am a creator. But today I want to look at some of the ways that Squarespace makes maintaining our web presence easier. Because sometimes that's all you need.
Show it off.
A bit of maintenance, don't we all? Probably my favorite type of automatically updating content stream, and trust me, I have many of them, is the classic RSS feed. Honestly, nothing brings me greater joy than seeing an automatically updating widget. And in this case, it's our Apple Podcasts widget, which is 100% up to date at any given time, provided we actually do the podcast. Next, an unsung hero, the Squarespace invoicing tool. Yeah, gone are the days of scouring the internet for passably
that Twitch ad was well timed.
Templates that still look like absolute poo the minute you try to edit one. The process is simple. Add a client, add a line item, give them a little discount if you're so inclined, then boom, send it off and get paid. And finally, while I know AI can be a hot button topic, I will 100% enlist it to carry out my menial tasks every time. And look, you can even have Squarespace AI manage your entire brand identity. Just pop in a bit of info about yourself, choose your vibe, and hello there, fellow gamers. Wow, actually 100% on brand for us. I'll take it. And there you have it. Minimal effort from my side, and I've come away with a self-updating widget, an invoice that will be paid in food and wine, and a ridiculous brand identity in under 2 minutes. We're all winners here. And you can be too, if you head to squarespace.com/TaliasandEvitel, where you can enjoy 10% off your first purchase of a Squarespace website or domain, or just use their code TaliasandEvitel instead. That's squarespace.com/TaliasandEvitel.
Why have this in the middle of the video? Well, they clearly got paid to do so, that's why. Yeah, there's Dimensius. Yes, that's exactly who I thought he was going to say.
The reason that the inhabitants of Koresh got their corporal forms annihilated and now wander the universe as bodiless arcane blobs is because of this guy, Dimensius the All-Devouring. He's a Void Lord. He opened portals to the Void and Twisting Nether to bombard the planet and take it over with his Void army. The player and ethereal buddies actually defeated him in the Burden Crusade, but like it was kind of easy.
Yeah, we basically defeated like a fingernail of him. It was like a sharded, not sharded, like a shard. Manifestation of him, like the tiniest. The thing about Void Lords and their lore is that they have a very hard time manifesting in our plane of existence, and it takes a lot to be able to get them to manifest because they're just so big and powerful. And that's why Xal'atath is the Harbinger. She's setting things up for him to manifest.
I don't think anyone thinks that was anything other than a weakened echo of him that we actually defeated, to be honest. And as far as we know, he and his Void buddies are still living their best life under the Koreshi sunset as we speak. So if we are indeed going to Koresh for the final patch of the War Within, then it makes sense that a Void Lord might be the final battle. That's good enough logic by itself, but there's an even bigger reason why it looks nailed on for Dimensius to be the big bad, and that's because of the huge lore reveal regarding the Radiant Echoes that we got in the recent Dark Heart patch. Those visions that important characters around Azeroth have started seeing, Thrall, Anduin, Jaina, Khadgar, Alleria, and others, and that supposedly come from the World Soul of Azeroth herself, all glowy and warm and soft of voice. Well, it turns out this has happened before. According to Locus-Walker, his people were having these exact same visions of the Radiant Voice right before Dimensius turned up and had his voidy way with their planet. So yeah, I know I literally just went on about how Locus-Walker is sketch as all but let's take him at his word for a sec. He thinks Xal'atath calls herself the Harbinger specifically because he thinks the
I understand now why she calls herself the Harbinger. That was the line he said.
Radiant song is itself a harbinger of impending voidy doom, like Dimensius. Maybe exactly like Dimensius. And I don't know about you, but a trip to Koresh, topped off with a battle against a fully powered Void Lord and his gang, that sounds like a pretty awesome ending to the War Within, as well as the perfect segue into the Void on Azeroth themed Midnight. So I rate Dimensius the All-Devouring a near certain
if he is the final boss, we're not gonna. I don't think we defeat him. Maybe we just kind of, push him back a little bit, buy ourselves a little bit more time into going into the Midnight expansion.
Devoured out of things that can be devoured, and that would usually be the end of the video. But of course, we have 2 more expansions to go after this in the World Soul Saga, so as a bonus ending section, here are some names I think you should be watching out for in the very near future. Odin. This absolute dickhead is a prime example of shitty Titan stuff being shit. So in a future where it seems quite likely we will be seeing the less
I used to like Odin. I used to think he was kind of a badass long before we knew a lot of lore about him. Now I just think he's like a freaking, little pet of the Titans. Like, he's such a little tip of the spear bitch who just does whatever the Titans want all the time.
Face of the Titans, it seems likely we'll finally have reason to get rid of this arsehole, and personally, I can't wait. Ashara. If we really are dealing with the Void for good, though, in Midnight, and if we really are uniting the Elven...
I actually think Ashara is going to be on our side. Now, that doesn't mean she gets a redemption. She's still going to be a selfish bitch, as she's always been. But our, we're probably going to be aligned on defeating the Void, so she might actually come back and help us a little bit.
Tribes in the process, the OG Elf Queen who fell to the Void should probably be making an appearance. The only question is, whose side will she be on? The Arathi Emperor of Light. Alright, so, the Arathi in Hallowfall are from a huge empire in the west, presumably beyond the magical western storms. And the Arathi of Hallowfall are all very chill and cool, but the Emperor sounds a little bit more sketch. Anduin's worried about him, and Anduin loves light stuff. Like, that's his absolute thing. Faerun Lothar isn't exactly sure the Emperor would like us very much, and I read that as a baddie waiting to happen. I think it's most likely that Blizz are setting up a new western continent and the Arathi Empire of Light with an eye to events after the World Soul Saga, but it is totally feasible we could be making a trip there in Midnight or The Last Titan 2. We know very little about these next 2 expansions at this point, after all. Iridikron. The instigator of all of this is...
I actually think Iridikron will come down to being like a boss before the boss kind of fight. He might be in the final raid, but he might be, like I said, the boss before the boss. Like, we're going to defeat the last Titan or whatever, and he's trying to do the same. Maybe we got to stop him, get him out of the way, because he'll destroy the planet if he does it his way, or something like that. That's probably the way he'll go down.
Conspicuously absent in the World Soul Saga, and I think he'll stay that way
the Emperor's
for a while
Naru.
yet. Iridikron claims that he is using the Void to his own ends, and I believe him, because we've seen him do similar with the Infinite Dragonflight already. If I had to bet, I'd say that we'll see this stony boy again for the first time at the very end of Midnight, in the very moment we finally defeat the Void, when he'll suddenly appear and reveal that while we were dicking about protecting the Sunwell, he was putting his real plan into action. That That plan being to lure the Titans to Azeroth and then punch them in the face. And speaking of Titans, Armenthul. Armenthul is the big boss of the Titan.
This is like probably what I subscribe to, is that I think Armenthul will be the final boss of the last Titan. I do. I think he's an evil jerk. His playing with time, his stuff with domination magic as well. You know how he's what's his name? He's been to Maldraxxus and done that shit. So he's a sketchy character.
And in my personal opinion, is very bad news, to the extent that he is my prediction for the final boss of the entire World Soul Saga. I could elaborate on that, but that is for an entire future video. I just want to put his name on the table and say on record, it's him.
Yeah.
It's this guy. But what do you think? Are my predictions for the final boss of the War Within good shouts or pathetic whimpers? Who do you think will be the final raid encounter of the expansion? And also, who's joining my new club, the Protect Xal'atath Club, where we will stand guard outside any raid instance where we'll have to fight Xal'atath and stop other players entering, because she is my everything, and I may not die for her, but I'm definitely willing to kill for her. Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make all of our work happen. And patrons, seriously, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evertel. As always, there is an ad and sponsor-free version of this video on the Patreon page, which, or if we're lucky, will even be there a little bit early for you as well. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Dillisan. No, my name is Taliesin, from me and Evertel. Until next time, cheerio.
Interesting. Great video. I will say one that he didn't mention that I thought he was going to was Invalidus. We just recently learned about him. He's another Void Lord that exists, you know, besides Dimensius. And he could be some type of end boss, or at some point we meet him. I don't know. But yeah, he's definitely one that could happen. Didn't they get divorced? No, they did not get divorced. What are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah, I hope we don't kill Xal'atath. She's a really cool character. Even if we defeat her in the end, I actually don't think she's gonna do some kind of like mysterious, like, oh, I've been defeated, but one day maybe I can come. Like, she'll be shelved in a way that she's no longer a threat and kind of disappears, but not killed, because she's too loved, I think, to be killed. Oh, I swear I heard that years ago. My bad. No, they had a kid. They have a kid now and stuff. Yeah, I don't think they're divorced. Xal's definitely Sylvanas' replacement. They aren't killing her. Yeah, I don't think so either.